So, wait everyone. Exciting news. As far as I'm aware, this is the very last set of verb endings that you are going to learn this year in Latin. And so, for a lot of you, it's your last set of verb endings ever. So, just to recap before we start on the imperfect subjunctive, here is some reminders about the pluperfect subjunctive. So, because it's pluperfect, you translate it as had something, and you form it from the third part of the verb plus endings with isse in front of them. So issem, isses, isset, issemus, issetus, issent. And because it is subjunctive, we will see it a lot in subordinate clauses. As well as the pluperfect, you also need to be able to recognize the imperfect subjunctive. So it's translated as was or were somethinging, just like the imperfect indicative, and we form it from the second part of the verb, which is the infinitive, plus some endings, which we'll go over in a moment. But first, just an example so you can see how it's used. So, cum custodes dormirent, captivi e carcere effugerunt. When the guards were sleeping, the prisoners escaped from the prison. So just like in indicative sentences, the imperfect describes an ongoing action or an interrupted action. And so the sleeping is an ongoing continuous action in the past, and we've got a perfect to indicate the quick one-off action of the prisoners escaping. So we form the imperfect subjunctive by firstly taking the second part of the verb, which is the infinitive. So in this case we would take amare, to love, and then we add the endings to it. So the endings are amarem, I was loving, amares, amaret, for he or she or it was loving, amaremos, as we were loving, for you all were loving, and nt, for they all were loving. So again, this mst, mustus, nt set of endings is very familiar, and you'll also notice that it's the same as the pluperfect subjunctive, except the pluperfect has that isse in front of it. So just to recap, perfectly timed. The imperfect subjunctive is used just like the pluperfect subjunctive in subordinate clauses. You form it from the second part of the verb plus the endings mst, mustus, nt, and we translate it like a regular imperfect was or were somethinging. All done.